Good morning, this is Jack for Charting the Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Wednesday, the 23rd of April. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I've done and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. Right, looking at ES. ES, we've seen a nice rally off the lows yesterday. We've got a nice looking support trend line here. And what I've been talking about in my last couple of posts was the possibility that we could have some very nice bear flags forming here. And we are most definitely in the zone for that. You can see on ES, we're pretty close to making a higher high. I am thinking we might see a bit of resistance short term. We might go through it, but there is some relatively minor i.e. not on ES or NQ so far, negative divergence that I'm watching, and we will see how that goes. But we're going up. We're likely to make a higher high soon, maybe not today, but soon on ES, and that gets us into flag territory, although I would like it to go a bit higher if we're going to get decent flags. We will see how it goes, but I am thinking that we may see a very nice short entry here. Obviously, it's too early to say, but things are developing as I've been saying so far, and at the moment, that's going pretty well. Looking at NQ, a bit further away from making a higher high here, but again, it's in the zone. This has gone through the declining resistance. I did mention in my post yesterday that this is the closest of the declining resistance trend lines. On RTY, we're getting up close to the declining resistance. We've already made a higher high for this rally. So we're already in flag territory, but I've got all the main trend lines I'm watching. I've got on the RTH charts, so I'll be coming to those. We did have a possible 60-minute sell signal brewing, and we just lost it, or at least. No, we haven't necessarily yet. We need to wait. We need to wait 12 minutes. So by the end of this webinar, or at about the end of this webinar, we should be able to see whether these are going to fail. But I was wondering about these negative divergences because we've got another on YM. That one isn't failing yet. But I've got to say, 2 is significant. I mean, with some of the big turns this year, we've had 6. I think we had 5 or 6. Buy or sell signals, and that is a really, really strong indicator. 1, pretty light. 2, more. But basically, I tend to rack them up. By the time we've got all the 4 US indices telling the same story, that's a very, very strong indicator of reversal. But we're not in that yet. We may be losing the RTY divergence here, and I think we may well be losing the YM2, and that's good because I'm expecting it to go higher. DAX, nice move up here. We've obviously made a higher high already for the rally. Don't really have an obvious trend line here, but then I'm not expecting it to turn here anyway. ESDX has gone higher as well. This is getting us into bear flag territory, but we don't have the decent bear flags yet, so waiting to see those. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Okay, SPX. That's not the right one. Hang on, that is the right one. Oh, by the way, just as an aside here, why am I looking at this thing here? Well, I'm going to mention that in a post that I'm going to be doing tomorrow on the bigger picture webinar, but I'm talking about one question that's been asked in the last couple of days is, can Trump fire the head of the Federal Reserve? And there's a very interesting case going through at the moment, and it's going to go to the Supreme Court soon, and we may see a ruling within days. And that's because a similar situation to the Federal Reserve is the National Labor Board. And President Trump removed a member of the National Labor Board, Gwynne Wilcox, from her position soon after taking office. And then that was restored by a lower court, and I believe it's being appealed to the higher court. But in the event that he is able to fire this person here, then that would be a precedent which would allow him potentially to fire the head of the Federal Reserve and any members of the Federal Reserve. So I'm watching that with particular interest. I'm going to be mentioning it on the post, which is why I was looking at that. But it's just it's still in development. But that is the answer to that question. Can he fire Jerome Powell? And the question is, we don't know yet, but we should know after that. All right, looking at SPX, we've got one thing I noticed yesterday. We've got nice looking inverted head and shoulders forming on all of these. Now we could see some resistance up here and form an alternate right shoulder. That wouldn't be uncommon. We do have some 15-minute sell signals here. We don't have one on SPX, but we've got at least 2, I think. And so I'm watching this, but at the moment, these are the arrows I drew last week, and at the moment, we're more or less following the arrows. I'd be looking for a bit of a pullback here, but I'd be looking for more upside soon over the next few days. So I'm thinking we might see a bit of a pullback here and then likely more upside. Looking at the Qs, we've got very nice looking potential inverted head and shoulders here, and chances are that's going to break up this morning. That will have a target basically back up at a retest of this high here, with an effect this section here having effectively formed a bull flag into the retest of this high here at 467.83. Is that where I'm looking for a high here? No, I'm looking higher, but I'm watching the, for today, I'm looking at 456, which is the declining resistance trend line. And I'm looking at the possible flag resistance, which is in the 483 area. Apologies for that interruption. That was my son, actually. So I'm expecting this to go higher. If this IHS breaks up, if it fails at this trend line here, that would look a bit grim. And potentially we could see a hard fell here, but I'm expecting it to go higher. So I'm really expecting this to break up and then make the target over the next few days. On Dia, where do we have sell signals here? Okay, we don't actually have one on Dia or the others. We could get one brewing on Dia. It must be an IWM we had one on. I thought it was two of them. All right, we've got a decent looking potential light just forming here on Dia as well. Again, that will probably break up at the open this morning. And really, we've got one target there because the declining resistance is actually pretty close to where the ideal flag resistance would be. So again, the IHS target would basically be back at a retest of these highs with a slight extended target that wouldn't quite get us to this trend line. But that's what I'm leaning towards seeing. And that's what's playing out at the moment. All right, let's have a look at the IWM chart where we have got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed. This has been slower to come up, but we've got a nice looking potential flag here. This one's got a higher chance that, well, we're getting into the zone where we might be seeing a fail when we get up into this declining resistance, but I think it's probably going to make it. Do we have an IHS here? We do not. We're a very different market structure and price structure on IWM, but still overall, we've got a pretty nice looking flag set up here, and I'm thinking it may well deliver. We will see. Not all of these are going to reach their trend lines in exactly reverse. I'm thinking one, maybe two. There are alternate trend lines I haven't drawn in. Because there are always alternate trend lines. But these, what I've drawn in, are the most likely ones. So those are the primary ones I'll be watching. Obviously, it may not play out exactly as I've said. DAX, we are likely testing the daily middle band at the moment. And we got a little negative divergence as soon as we do that on the RSI too, but I don't tend to watch that particularly. It sometimes gives us short-term turns, but I think this is a bigger move than that in all probability. You can see there was a nice little sell signal here, for instance. Within signaling when this was going to go down. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm expecting to test the daily middle band, but as I said, we'll probably break over the daily middle bands on this move. It's going to go where I'm expecting it to go. In terms of Nikkei, nice move up here. I haven't broken over the daily middle band yet, but we're testing it now. And I'm thinking we'll probably break over that too. But there is a possibility that we see a mass fail at the daily middle bands today or tomorrow. At the moment, I'm pretty optimistic we won't see that. But we will have to see how that goes. All right, great. Let's have a look at we'll come back in 5 minutes. We've got obviously the closing candle, and I'll be watching. I'll come back and we'll have a look at RTY, which looks as though it's going to lose divergence, and YM, which also at the moment looks as though it's going to lose divergence, or at least it's thinking about it. Okay. DX, we've seen a nice little rally here. We had a weak 60-minute buy signal. That's now reached target. No current negative divergence. I'm not really looking for a big reversal here, but I would mention what I mentioned yesterday, which is that we have hit a major level on the US dollar, and I'm watching it with great interest. Now, I was thinking this might get hit with a test of the bigger target below. Hang on, I need a weekly chart here. All right, this is the possible flag resistance I drew in. I drew this in a couple of months ago, I think. And when we were basically, as soon as we failed here up at 110, this was the obvious next big target, and we've made it. Now, obviously, we are finding some support there so far. We could find a lot of support there, and I would note that this is a bull flag. But Trump has been saying that he wants the dollar lower. He's been certainly doing a lot of stuff that might make the dollar lower, and Trump could give us a breakdown from this, in which case this could be a topping pattern rather than a bull flag, because when it breaks down hard, that's what it becomes. It becomes a topping pattern. So if we see a bull flag and it plays out as a bull flag, really, we'd be seeing a move start here, very possibly over a couple of months, then coming back and retesting this low, making this trend line here, which I think is an important target as well, and then potentially going up into these highs. It's hard to see how that works at the moment. But we will have to see. Right, looking at the TNX chart quickly, we've still got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed, and I'm thinking that we're likely forming a flag on here too. This flag would be A, B, C, and we've made a higher high on this. I think this is going to give us our 60-minute sell signal on TNX. I think that should make at least the possible near miss target, and gives us a flag on TNX as well. I think the a flag on ZB. I think the prospects for bonds, whatever happens this year, range from grim to borderline catastrophic. And on the grim scenario, which I really think is pretty close to the best case, I think we're going to probably be going down quite a lot. CL, we could be seeing a fail here. Now we've got an IHS which is broken up. We've got another very similar one on KC, but this one is far more dubious than the KC one. So this could see a fail here. We could be seeing a topping pattern form here at the weekly pivot, possible part formed IHS, or rather unbalanced double top. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a fail here, but again, I wouldn't be that surprised to see, while we are being carried up on equities, to see some optimism get us back up to a test of the monthly pivot here at 68.89. NG. This isn't looking great. This could be a bullish underthrow. We do have a 60-minute buy signal fixed. So far, we've got more than halfway to the target without actually doing a great deal. I think NG may be breaking down here. I'd be very wary about the long. We shall see. All right, GC. We've been seeing a bit of a pullback here. We've got some positive divergence, but at the moment, we're going through the weekly pivot. Do we have a possible head and shoulders here? Yes, we do. I haven't drawn it in yet, but the target would be... probably actually looking at it, I'm thinking 31.25 area. So I haven't drawn in the trend lines here yet, but the trend line would be there. And I'm thinking that may well head off and make that target. And certainly, if you're thinking about gold, and I think you need to think about gold as a flight to safety trade at the moment, when the markets are going up, you have much less need of a flight to safety destination, and we've seen a wild move up, and we may well be about to see a significant move down. I'm not expecting this rally to last more than a week, maybe into the end of next week, maybe. So I'm thinking gold's got more upside coming. But we could see a significant retracement here. We shall see. I'm watching this carefully as we go down here, because we may lose this divergence, but we haven't lost it yet. All right, let's have a quick look at SI. SI, I'm leaning towards the upside here, but this looks like a bull flag forming. We could see a lower low within this flag, but I'm not really expecting to see a lot of downside. On palladium, we've got a head and shoulders which is broken down and could be failing. It doesn't fail until we get over this right shoulder high, which is in the 965 area. All right, the hour has turned. RTY has lost negative divergence. YM, I think that's lost negative divergence as well. Yes. No? Maybe. I'll need to measure it, but we're certainly down to 1. Okay, let's have a look at what we've seen. Platinum. Oh, platinum. We had a double top breakdown, and that looks as though it is failing. So I think that all looks fairly promising, actually, apart from the gold one. Of course, these are mainly industrial metals apart from gold. So more optimism on, more risk on, suggests some upside at least on that. HG. HG's already had a hell of a run. I've got a decent looking resistance trend line now. I'm wondering if it may well top out and fail here. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed. Not a lot of sound currencies today. KC. KC, we've got this IHS. We're almost testing the declining resistance, which is a possible resistance level, which is currently at about 387 area. If it goes through that, then I've got a decent match with this resistance trend line here and the IHS target, which I've got in about the 398 area. Looking at sugar, this still looks like a bear flag forming. CC, we've seen some signs of life, and this double bottom may have a shot. If so, a sustained breakup over, well, 9,500 in effect would have a target, which would be at about the 11,400 area. Looking at wheat, may well be, this doesn't look like a bear flag for days. I'm wondering if we're heading back into a retest of the low. On corn, I'm wondering if this double bottom may fail. There's no obvious, there's no set fail level for a double bottom, of course. But certainly we're seeing some weakness, and this is looking a lot less like a bull flag. A bull flag this morning. We do have a possible 60-minute buy signal brewing on soy. Nice looking possible double top forming. Again, I'm wondering why this is so high given what's happening with China. Cotton is heading higher here. Next obvious target is a retest of this high here in about the 69.40 area. Lumber, still a possible double bottom, hasn't really done anything in days. Live cattle, we've now made the IHS target. IHS target. And we've made the retest of this high, which I was suggesting would follow on straight on from that. No particular reason to think this is going down. We've got some negative divergence here, but it looks as though we're in the process of losing that. So see what happens in an hour, but this could easily go higher from here. HE, we're over the weekly pivot, we're over the monthly pivot, we're over this high here, which I was seeing as the next big resistance. I'm wondering if this is going to go on a run to take us back into this high here in the 106.5 area. All right, great. Let's have a look at, oh, hang on, wait a second. GF, what's GF when? Okay, anyway, let's have a quick, while Wen's answering that, let's have a quick look at ZL, which is soybean oil. This is a nice looking double top, which is broken down. Really, I'm not quite seeing why it wouldn't go down and make this target. It's not so much sign of it there so far. We could be forming an alternate slightly larger head and shoulders, but I think this double top's got a target in the 47 area. Okay, feed cattle, I don't know. I'll have a quick look at that and I'll add it for tomorrow. I'm always interested in things which have some decent trading volume. Soybean oil certainly has. I'll have a look at feed cattle as well. All right, brilliant. In that case, I think that's a wrap. I've got to get on to my next webinar, so I will catch you guys tomorrow morning. I'm thinking we may well see a bit of retracement today. I'm leaning long after that, but I am watching out for a potential hard fail at some of the daily middle bands which we are hitting. So we'll see how that goes today. All right, take care. Catch you tomorrow.